Hello and welcome. My name is Donnie Walsh, and if you're watching this video, it's because I was able to successfully record 10 minutes of content without accidentally cursing. In this video, you'll find an introduction to Bad Guy and a brief demonstration of the first minutes of gameplay. Bad Guy is a browser-based idle clicker video game that I've been working on for a month and a half. It's currently at what I call version -4, since only one out of the 5 phases I've planned has been coded thus far. Version -4 is deployed on a Heroku server, so you can try it out right now. Just visit https://glacial-stream-89607.herokuapp.com. Very easy, should be able to remember it without writing it down. Anyway, if you haven't explored the game yet, I encourage you to take a few minutes to play through it once just to get a feel for what's going on before watching this demo. One last note before I get started here. I'm not going to be explaining much about how I'm playing the game. If you're interested in learning more about the specifics of what's going on and why I'm choosing what I'm choosing, I highly recommend reading the README that's attached to Bad Guy's GitHub repository. It does a pretty good job of explaining the baseline functionality and features of the game, as well as the future plans for them, which helps explain why they're in the state that they're in right now. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Since the player starts with no resources, the only thing they can do is scheme. Even at rock bottom, the player will generate 1 scheme point a second, and with this they can unlock passive benefits called schemes. Schemes provide unique features, they unlock new aspects of the game, they improve those features, and they also provide passive benefits to the player. They're separated into trees, each tree focusing on a piece of gameplay. For example, this tree, the green tree, focuses on schemes. All of these schemes will increase the player's ability to learn new schemes. So whenever I play, I usually start with this tree as it compounds on itself and makes other trees very, very easy to unlock. Since these schemes are the first that the player is going to encounter in the game, they are more linear and direct than other schemes. Mastermind, for example, always provides the same benefit no matter what level it is. Mastermind 3 gives 1 scheme point a second, Mastermind 4 gives 1 scheme point a second, and so on. All 3 of these schemes provide the same benefit at each level, even though future levels are more expensive. Quick Thinking 3 requires 120 scheme points, whereas Quick Thinking 1 only requires 10. Now that we have a good baseline and tempo of accruing scheme points, we move over to the blue scheme tree. Schemes in this tree focus on henchmen. Henchmen are the most important resource available to the player, since as an evil overlord, the player is not going to be interested in getting their hands dirty and putting themselves at risk for measly heists or small-time operations. That's what henchmen are for. Henchmen are disposable minions that are generated through what are called help wanted objects, at least in this phase. So over on the left-hand side you can see this recruitment area. There's a sign stapled to a post, and every 30 seconds or so the bar will fill up and there will be a henchman available for me to collect. Up at the top bar you can see that I have 1 out of 10 henchman slots right now. That's not nearly enough to do the dastardly things that I have planned, so I'm going to improve hired help as far as I can in phase 0. Once I get hired help to level 5, I will unlock an additional help wanted ad, which effectively doubles my henchman accrual rate. I can't stress enough the importance of henchmen, so I prioritize hired help 5 very highly in my first couple of minutes of gameplay. Because the heists that I'm going to be doing require a large number of henchmen, I'm going to increase lodging once or twice just so I have a good capacity to work with. 40 looks like it's good enough, so let's move on to the next tree. This brown tree deals with operations. I'm going to start by unlocking heists, the first operation available to the player. Heists cost henchmen and produce cash immediately. They will pay out right as the heist is completed. This bar that appeared in the middle of the screen is the operations bar. Right now I only see the row for heists, and I only have one slot unlocked. What's about to happen here is a bug. Heists 3 should not be providing the second heists slot, but it does. So that's something I'm going to have to fix. I've noticed that in some of my previous videos, so I just wanted to point that out. When you click on the available slot, it will tell you the name of the heist and some details about it. Some of the details are not unique to the heist, such as the requirement. All heists require henchmen. All heists have the same risk amount, but the success rate and the rewards for operations will differ depending on what kind of operation it is. This bar here allows me to commit henchmen to the heist, and I can only commit up to 2 henchmen to this particular heist, so why don't I go ahead and do that. Since we succeeded, we earned some cash from this heist. Luckily, we didn't lose any henchmen. There was a 30% chance for either of the henchmen to be lost, so we lucked out there. And for each of the henchmen that went on the heist, they each rolled a 2-sided die, and we earned 4 cash, which is the maximum that I could earn from this particular heist. So that worked out pretty well. And you might notice up in the top left corner, that heist increased our notoriety. Operations will always increase your notoriety by various amounts. Heists increase it by just a little bit, 0.1 for the common heists that we're working on here, but more rare heists will increase it by larger amounts. Notoriety represents the player's deeds and misdoings gathering attention from pesky do-gooders and heroes. Right now, we're not at risk of being attacked by a hero. We're still an unknown. But once our notoriety reaches 1, we will pass into the next notoriety tier, and heroes will start attacking our lair and trying to put a stop to us. As of version -4, heroes are not coded into the game, but they serve such an important role to what the game is trying to do that I can't really describe the game without talking about them. So heroes are the primary blocker in the game. They're the thing that stands between the player and accomplishing what the player wants to accomplish, world domination. By performing routine activities such as robbing paper boys and gathering coins from park fountains, the player will increase their notoriety meter, and it will have to be managed throughout the game. If your notoriety meter goes too high and you're not prepared to take on the challenges that come with it, you're at risk of being attacked by a hero and losing everything that you've worked to accrue. All of your schemes, all of your henchmen, all of your resources, everything that you're seeing so far in Phase 0 will be lost if a hero defeats you. Being defeated by a player sets the hero back to square 0, and they are forced to rely on another aspect of the game that is not available. Strange objects and advanced specialties are the permanent advancement of Bad Guy. Once heroes start attacking, you're going to be mowing through them pretty quickly. The first cohort of heroes that are coming after you will be very weak and will not serve a threat. When you defeat a hero, they have a chance to drop what's called a strange object. Now, these items are very important because, like I said, they do not get cleared if a hero does defeat you. So they represent a permanent progression, and they can be spent on advanced specialties, which are unique schemes that also persist through a hero defeating the player. So the core of the game, what you're seeing here, Phase 0, learning schemes, gathering henchmen, going on operations, that is repeatable and will have to be played through multiple times by the player as they reach further and further into the core game, working to accrue this separate path of progression. So not only is the game sort of attacking the senses by giving you many, many things to keep track of. While I'm talking about this, I should have been prioritizing scheming everything so that once I'm ready to learn beginner lair, I have a baseline of level 5 and all the schemes that I can learn at Phase 0. I haven't been doing a great job of doing that because I'm bad at speaking and multitasking at the same time. But that's where the challenge comes from, is maintaining your attention, managing these multiple threads, and doing it in a way that once you are breaching into dangerous territory, you're aware of it and you've done the necessary preparations to be able to fend off whatever heroes might be coming after you. Now, from a philosophical standpoint, Phase 0 is intended to take about 15 minutes of gameplay to progress through. Right now I'm looking at my time at around 10 minutes, so it's working out to be balanced sort of where I want it. But speaking of balance, I'm not prioritizing a good and understandable and logical and rewarding gameplay experience at this point in time. My main priority is getting the game running and working. For example, the recharge time for heists. You might think it's sort of long, and I would agree with you. But at this point in time, I'm more focused on moving on to the next thing, namely heroes, and getting that feature of the game actually coded in before I spend time to drill down, do some analytics, and figure out should slot 1 and slot 2 of heists already be done right now, or is this timing appropriate? There's a lot of interconnected features of the game. Recruitment and operations are intrinsically tied together, but they are separate sides of the game. The sort of balance between I have enough henchmen to blow through every heist that's available to me right now is good, because that's what I'm going for. Once I start working on Phase 1, maybe that will change, and I'm prioritizing setting up the handlers and the toggles and enabling myself to actually change things that I want to change more than worrying about is the state that it's in right now playable and enjoyable for the player. So I just got 105 cash, so I'm going to move over to beginner layer, invest 100 cash so that I can start working on this scheme, and I'm going to scheme it. So there you have it. Once I'm done with this scheme, I've effectively made it out of Phase 0 and into Phase 1. This unlocks 5 more levels of every scheme that's available to me at this time. It will also unlock new schemes that are not visible or in the game just yet, but you can see that the scheme panel has a lot of empty space. Those are going to be additional nodes like the ones that you've seen me work with just now. And that's coming up next after heroes, as well as maintenance. All of the schemes that you see on the screen do something and actually modify the game that the way that their scheme describes them to do, except maintenance. Maintenance at this point just says that it heals your base, but it doesn't actually do anything to the HP value of the base. So coming up next on what I'm working on is going to be the maintenance scheme in particular, heroes, and working on Phase 1 schemes for all of the trees. Alright, so thank you very much for joining me. This was just a quick walkthrough of Bad Guy and a demonstration of what the gameplay looks like, and a little bit of discussion on what to expect next and what to expect long term. But from here, I'm going to work on another video that looks at the back end, looks at the code and how I put together Bad Guy to do what you've seen it do in front of you right now. I'm thinking that's going to be 3 separate videos and want to spend enough time focusing in on the different aspects, and I don't know if I can actually fit all of it into one 15-minute video. This is a good time to talk about how I'm doing this. I'm aiming for 15-minute videos because I found that to be around how long I can talk without saying something stupid or forgetting my train of thought. And this is primarily a programming and a coding experience. This game that you see is part of my portfolio because I'm a self-taught developer with a little bit of professional experience, and this is mostly an avenue to improve my abilities. So things like video editing, making sure that I'm, high energy, or whatever people do when they stream, that's not a priority for me. So I do apologize if these videos are going to be a little difficult to watch because of my rambling nature or saying over and over and over again. But the primary focus is going to be on coding and not the presentation. So we're just about at the 15-minute mark, and I think I've said everything that I want to say. So one last time, thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.